Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
The Bears.
Because of the way they play the nickel corner here, and the nickel corner plays 88, 85% of the snaps. He's got to be like part linebacker.
The Bears.
When you're in a scouting room, there's going to be differences of opinion.
The Bears.
Once coaches get involved, of course, they've got their own opinions about what fits best for what they want to do, and that could be drastically different than what the scouts say.
Well, you're looking at traits, and remember when he tested very, very well.
The Bears.
One thing good about Kevin, he's been with 2 other organizations, as well as being the commissioner of the Big Ten. He's been around.
The Bears.
With Greg Olson, Jerry didn't want to get rid of him. I didn't want to get rid of him. Nobody wanted to get rid of him. One guy wanted to get rid of him. Mike Martz, because Mike Martz didn't know what the hell to do with him. We tried to talk Lovey out of hiring Mike Martz for a month and a half. He's playing zone, but number one, he doesn't get enough depth with the drop. But who the hell's going? How many times does a 305, 310-pound defensive tackle drop into coverage, especially in a key situation?
The Bears.
Greg, why are teams wrong on quarterback evaluations so often?
Number one, it's a hard position to evaluate. There's probably not as many real good quarterback evaluators as there needs to be.
The Bears. The Bears. The Bears.
Welcome, everyone, to another fresh episode of GTF Gabriel Talks Football. My name is Aldo, and a quick note before we begin. I went through a couple of past shows and read some of the YouTube comments, and apparently there's been an issue with my microphone where it's picking up a lot of extraneous noise and so forth. I've made some changes to the microphone, so hopefully it's better today than it has been in the past. And if anyone is detecting issues with my microphone, please let me know. I want to correct those. A couple of viewers says, I'm not going to watch anymore because Aldo's microphone is crappy and so forth. Well, I apologize for that. That should not happen. I pay a lot of attention to the quality of what we put out, but apparently I failed you. So hopefully that is all cleared up. Let me talk to a guy here who knows a lot about audio. Greg Gabriel.
Brother, you're talking to the wrong man. I don't know jack shit about audio.
Were you screaming and yelling at the TV yesterday? No, totally calm.
In all honesty, yeah. Well, number one, as I said last Monday, I said I didn't think this was a game they were going to win. You know, it didn't set up right for me. You know, you look at their record. They didn't play as well as I had hoped. That's a whole different thing. But, you know, right now the season's going according to plan. Next up, Cincinnati.
Right.
Now, if you can't beat Cincinnati, you got some problems.
But that offense
beat Cincinnati yesterday.
Yeah, but that offense, Cincy's offense is scoring points. Flacco knows how to get the ball to those receivers.
Yeah, but Flacco can't get out of his own way. They had to take Flacco out of the game a little bit and put the other guy in yesterday. You know, I'm the guy I'm not worried about is Joe Flacco. You and I might be able to have more mobility, and I got no legs anymore than Joe Flacco. You know, but he can toss the rock around pretty good.
Yeah. Usama says, although someone posted all 22 film on YouTube of CW and the tape doesn't look as bad. I agree.
You know what? My timeline on X is just full of all these negative comments. And I'm not going to bitch at fans. That's not what I want to do. But it's overreaction.
Yeah, sure.
Football goes up and down. Okay, I mentioned the Buffalo Bills a lot. Buffalo Bills started off great. They lost 2 games in a row. Okay, to really inferior football teams.
Yeah.
And played terribly. Yesterday, they came back and scored 140-9 over Carolina in Carolina. You know, there's games that just aren't going to go the way you want them to go. And yesterday was one of them. Yeah, there's a concern that some of the same things go on, with the pre-snap penalties, the regular penalties, even though even some of the penalties yesterday, I got a question, whether they really were penalties. I think some of the calls are a little stingy, but hey, is what it is. And until the Bears are a proven team, they're not going to get the calls.
Right.
Baltimore, it was a legitimate going into the season, a legitimate Super Bowl contender, easily the best team in their division. For whatever reason, they got off to a bad start, coming off a bye, playing at home. I remember I said to you last week, it could be like Detroit. Well, it wasn't that bad. I mean, this is a game the Bears very easily could have won. They couldn't finish their first 2 drives. They finished their first 2 drives. Maybe we're talking, a different ball game.
Yeah. Well, let us review what transpired, and let's start with the Lamar Jackson situation. Is it a big deal that the Ravens explain to the audience what happened for those who don't know what happened?
It was really a simple mistake on the Ravens' part, and the Ravens actually checked with the league about it Saturday. They listed him as full on Friday because he participated in the whole practice. Technically, that's full, but he's the starting quarterback, and he wasn't taking the starters' reps. He was acting as the scout team quarterback. So he was playing Caleb Williams. And because of that, he should have been listed as limited. So
go ahead.
It's not a big deal. People want to make a big deal out of it. Some guy was saying to me in a thing, they're going to get fined and lose a draft choice. My ass, nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah. So while we're on, Laz brings it up. So let me go there before we start talking about the game. Officiating has never been worse. Calls made and calls not made. Something has to be done, even if penalties are challengeable, like balls and strikes next season. Keith Lutz wrote a column based on our discussion on last week's show about penalties, and we were talking about an official in the sky, replay official to help. But whatever happens with officiating, as you just said, you got to fight through it. It's part of the opposition, bad calls are going to happen. And other teams have complaints too, right, Greg? So I think
there's no question. I mean, put it this way. It's real easy to sit in your family room or your living room or wherever you're watching the game, watch the game and see a replay and say, they screwed up the call. But now put yourself on the field in real time.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not really standing up for the officials because these guys are experienced guys. Every one of these guys spent years in college football before they got to the NFL.
Right.
So, but to me, it's like this. If it's close, no flag. That's my own opinion. Whether that's, if you just – there's times they call holding, and I'm not talking necessarily about yesterday, but we can go back, I think, a game ago, and Billings was called for defensive holding. That was a joke of a call.
Yeah.
Joke of a call. And in the same game, you had the offensive pass interference against Colston Loveland.
Yep.
He caught the official actually caught the tail end of it, saw the defensive guy flying. Well, he must have got hit by Loveland. He never saw the whole play.
Yes.
And when you get to that, you don't throw a flag.
Yeah, right. But so my issue, just to revisit it real quickly, is there should be an official up there who is going to say, you made the bad call. And that's final, like you said in Keith's column. That's final. We'll move on. Now the final word comes from the instant replay official. I'll give you one more, Greg. Look at this hit by Marlon Humphrey on OZ. They're reviewing this play to begin with, but they're ignoring the fact that he hits him with the crown of the helmet. And if you're
college football, that would have been targeting, and he would have been thrown out of the game.
Thrown out, and that's what it should be in the NFL. This was egregious, and no call there.
But what should let's say if you have refill, that's called not illegal contact, but hit on a defenseless receiver or whatever.
Right.
And 15-yard penalty. And that's what it should have been. I mean, put it this way. Before the week's out, probably next Friday, you're going to see him get with about 15 grand fine.
I agree with you. It's not going to help us now or
No.
Yeah, I agree. There's no doubt about it.
Not only did he hit him in the helmet, he lowered his head.
Yes, the
And I'll be honest, I didn't see it until yesterday I did not notice that. Today's the first time I saw it, but yeah, that's obvious as night and day.
Yeah, so they're reviewing the play to see if he had possession of the ball, and the call ended up being in the Bears' favor because it did look like it could have been a fumble. But that I'm sure Ravens fans are complaining about this not being called a fumble. But nonetheless, let us move on. Unless you have a final thought.
Let's not, because it's interesting.
Okay.
Like I said to you last week when you threw those questions of what's to me, the more I think about it, the more I think it's a good idea. But there's got to be some rules involved in it, in that you can't keep increasing the game by another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like there was a call yesterday where with Romadunze caught a ball and they weren't sure if it was a first down, and the replay official said it's a first down. Boom, end of discussion. That's what it's got to be. Okay, the guy said it was a bad call. This happened. That was targeting, using the college phrase, 15-yard penalty. It's over.
Right. That's the way it should be. Yes.
You don't go look at the replay again. Well, let me see if you're correct. No.
Right.
We already looked at it.
Right. And I think your one of your complaints against the idea is that it would add more time to the game. And so I am sitting there, and probably for that 2.5-hour game, half of the time I was watching commercials. So they could do these reviews and go to a quick commercial, 30, 60 seconds, to reduce that block of 6, 7, 8, 9-minute commercials that are, for the fan when they're there, especially in cold weather, it's terrible experience to go through. And as a fan watching on TV, I'm sorry, I don't want to watch a 7-minute block of commercials. That's just irritating.
I need those 3 minutes. Well, they're usually 3 minutes. I need those 3 minutes to go take a potty break,
I hear you. That's why part of the reason I was late today was because 10 minutes before the show, I say, let me go.
I think you had a better reason than that. I don't know. Tell anybody, but
I'll tell people I am going to be grandfather again. My daughter's going into labor. I have a 3-year-old already, and so Levi, another little boy, is on his way, and can't wait to see him. So that might happen later tonight. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, I want to talk about the game and aspects of the game that we need to discuss. First of all, let's start with Ben Johnson talking about the problems on offense.
I think you see flashes of some explosive plays and some really good things happening. But the penalties to me is what stands out first and foremost. We still have some of the pre-snap issues. There's occasional not getting lined up quite right. There's occasional not getting the motion quite right. And so that stuff it adds up and it hurts us. We get away with it occasionally, but it's just not the way you win in this league. And so I think, I really put it on the leaders there in that locker room to get this ship going the right direction in that regard. Us coaches, we've been pounding that drum now for a while, and we haven't gotten the results we wanted. So it's on the leaders here on this team to get us right.
I'm glad you played that clip. And I'll tell you why, because I got a post from somebody that said, he called out the leaders. No, he didn't. He told the leaders, this is your job.
Yeah.
You need to clean it up. We've done what we can do. Now you guys got to lead and do what you can do. In other words, the coaches can't slap a teammate or a player, but the teammate can slap them upside the head.
And that's what should happen. The problem is who's doing the slapping?
Well, we used to have a guy named Kreutz doing it.
Exactly. Let's sign him up. Give him a player coach designation.
I get where Ben's coming from. And I got to say, I say it every week. You have to appreciate the honesty and transparency that he has in a press conference. He tells you exactly what went wrong. He tells you who screwed up. He puts the blame on himself.
Yeah.
You know, like the set of plays the last time they had the ball when they could have got a touchdown. He put that all in there. I called some horrible plays.
Yes, he did.
I needed to do a better job. And, you know, that's why I appreciate the guy as much as I got to tell you this because it's funny. So I go to sleep, I don't know, 10 o'clock, and I have a dream. I seldom remember dreams.
Yeah, same here.
The dream was he got fired.
He
because
is who?
of yesterday's game.
Who is he?
Ben.
That's a nightmare, in my opinion.
And it was like, and somehow, you know how crazy dreams are. We end up in the same place.
Yeah.
And he's pissed. And he's smoking a cigarette, telling me how pissed he is.
That is awesome.
And trust me, I never remember dreams. But that was like,
I'm glad you remember that one. That's a good one. All right, let's go on in the game. And let me see. What do I got here to illustrate what's going on? The red zone offense is really bad. 3 for 9 over the last 2 games.
They got a point. And is it execution, play calling, combo of both? My guess would be combo of both.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but it's those
I think
penalties.
you can fairly ask a question. This is his 4th year as a play caller. Our defense is catching up to his tendencies in certain situations.
Yes, that's a great point, Greg. And we don't know for sure, but it is a great question to ask. And hopefully he's asking it of himself. Because
I don't think there's any doubt on that. You know,
yeah. I can show you a play or two where that comes into question. So this is, first of all, Caleb's assessment of what's wrong with the offense.
Penalties and being able to score in the red zone. I think, we get into, those moments and, we're either not scoring and converting in those moments. And we know, that we can – we could have been up 14 in those first 2 drives we had, I think it was, or first 2 out of 3 or whatever the case may have been, and that would have created a bunch of momentum for us, and I think that's how it's been a good amount of the year, especially these past 2 games, been in the red zone a bunch, and not necessarily being able to punch it in the high red and things like that. So I think that's the 2 main things that we got to fix, and the guys jumping off sides and those type of things we'll get fixed.
That first drive was monumental in not getting 7 because one of the writers, Dan Wiederer, I think, wrote that crushed the potential to have momentum. Getting up 7-0 and maybe 10-0 or 14-0 because those first 2 drives you were able to go down.
Drive, I'm not going to say the first drive because the defense forced 3 and out with Baltimore their first time they had the ball, and then the Bears had the ball basically the rest of the first quarter. The Bears had the ball like 12 minutes and 45 seconds in the first quarter.
Yeah, but the Bears got the
unbelievable time of possession advantage for the first quarter. Yet for the game, I think they lost the time of possession because in the second quarter, it was reversed.
Yeah, but the Bears got the ball to start the game, the first half. And so that was the drive that stalled out inside the 5-yard line because of Colston Loveland's penalty and because it looked like the defense knew what was coming. So that was really bizarre. Really bizarre.
And it could. I haven't watched it a second time yet, again, I'll say what I just said. Maybe some of these defensive coordinators are got a pretty good handle on what he likes to call, on what Ben likes to call, and or what he's called with the Bears.
Right.
Because I think he's still not playing with a full book with the Bears as he was with Detroit, and it took him 3 years to get that full book in Detroit.
Yep, indeed. And J2K is pointing out something. I thought I loaded the play, but I don't. On that one play that he was sacked, here it is. I think this is it. Darn it. And I thought I was organized today. But I am definitely
you got more important things going on, bro.
Yeah, I hear you. Here it is. It's the Mike Green sack. This is first of all, Theo does not do a good job on Green here. So if you could analyze this for us, Greg, that would be great. Hands are a little low. It just lets him, and there goes our chances to score in the red zone. Theo again, not blocking well, but then this is going to continue, Greg, and you're going to see Kyle Monangai get open immediately, and I think Caleb should have just throw right there. Throw it to Monangai.
I disagree with that one.
Really?
Go play. Yeah, he can't see it. I mean, he's got a guy rushing him. He's going, trying to run. He's going to his right. Monangai's to his left.
See, but I think you got to know that he's
right
going
now.
to be there.
He didn't really have the time. Give him another second. The throw's made, but he doesn't have the time. See, he's running for his life there, and it's like, he'd have to throw it across his body.
Yeah, that's true.
Which could mean the thing. Now, going back to Benedict, his pass set wasn't good.
Yeah.
His angle to the outside wasn't good. Part of it could be he really doesn't know Green, and because
Roquan
I'm not going to make an excuse. He didn't say right there. There's a part there where he should have been stepping wider, and he with his left foot, and he stepped back. And that little mistake right there was the difference between slowing Green up and getting the pass off for a touchdown or having a sack.
I wonder, though, if he wasn't coached on that play, your number one responsibility is to pick up somebody coming up the middle. And so that's why he takes that step to the right. Plus, Roquan is lined up over the left guard, as you will see in that blitz position. He's lined up between Tooney and the left tackle, Theo. So he's got to be paying attention to those guys first and not the outside guy. And
why? I mean, his main responsibility is the outside guy, and they're looking. I mean, look at the linebacker drops. Give me 1 second. I got to see who the dog's yelling at here.
Sure, and I'll ask the audience, what do you think about this play? Bears fan man, your mic is still picking up noises every time you swallow or make noises with your mouth. Okay, let me fix that.
Right now.
Thank you. I should mute Greg first. Yelling at his dog. Oh. Good thing we didn't hear like punch. Let's see if I can fix this audio once and for all. Changing the microphones to the computer microphone. So hopefully you can hear me now. Hopefully it's good audio, better audio, not hearing my lips smacking or any of that annoying stuff. And I apologize again. And thank you for pointing that out very much. What did you hit that dog?
Of course not. But the UPS truck pulled in the driveway next door. There's 3 things he hates: FedEx, UPS, and the mailman.
Poor people.
No, he sees the trucks. He recognizes the markings on the trucks, and he just goes like, "These guys are the enemy."
Well, Brandon Lawson printed us some nice hoodies that I gotta deliver to your house, or have somebody else deliver. So I'll let you know when I don't want to get bit by
Well, now,
Bennett.
you know Bennett, he's not going to come out and bite you.
That is true.
You'll just
All
think he is.
Exactly. We got a $5 donation from Stephen Nagishi, co-host of the AA podcast, and he asked, any concerns with Williams and Johnson giving different opinions on the interception? It seems like they are still not on the same pages. Did you catch that at all? Because I might have.
I did not. I caught Johnson and Johnson. In fairness to Johnson, Johnson said, I really got to look at the tape. But my first thought is he could have gone to a better target.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact,
I might have been ad-libbing that a little bit, but that was pretty close to it.
I think this is it here. Both of them.
Yeah, I have to check it out on film just one more time. Just in my mind, there might have been another option that we could have gotten to.
It was a good read. Rome man to man with the guy that caught the pick, and I just didn't give a good ball to Rome.
You agree with that, or who do you agree with?
It gets back to what Ben said. I got to look at the tape.
Well, here it is.
The intentional grounding just wasn't on the same page with.
Oh, darn it. That was going to work out so good, but that's the wrong one. Go ahead. Your thoughts. See if I can put this on there. What are your thoughts on what Ben and Caleb just said?
No, I don't think it's on. They're on a different page. They're talking in the moment. So, Caleb is talking from his how we recollected the play, and the same with Ben. Neither one of them have seen it on tape. And then when you see it on tape, then you can say, oh, look at this over here or whatever. Now, I just looked just the one time you played it. I really didn't see anybody else open.
I didn't either.
Okay, so, that's going to tell the story right there.
Yes, and it's loading right now. It'll take another few seconds. But what I want you to see when you're seeing it is that the problem was, Greg, is Caleb is late with the throw again. He gets to his drop and he's hesitant to unleash it. So when we see this player, hurry up and load, darn it.
You don't have to. I get what you're saying. And I'm not going to say that's an instinctive thing. It's more of a, and I'm talking for him, so I can't be sure, but more of a, I want to throw the right ball.
I understand.
And so, and it still cost him a pick, but he's got to be quicker with it. Like I see it, boom, get it out of my hand. And there's times when he does that. There's times when he does it really, really well. He just doesn't do it down after down after down. And that's an experience thing.
So Rome is at the top, and you're going to see the cut in. And I think I'm going to freeze it here when
right. Right. Then he waited, 4 yards back would have been the time to throw it.
Exactly. It's got to be right on the cut. Exactly. I think I'm going to play it one more time with graphics to explain the point further. But yeah, Greg, you and I are saying the same thing. He's got to release this ball right there.
Wow.
Right there. Yes.
And throw it at that hash right there. And he threw it 4 yards past the hash.
Yeah, that's the problem there. These plays, this is the NFL. At USC, he would have got away with that. And I'm not sticking up for anybody, but this is a hard game. Yes, it is.
And you're not going to be perfect on every freaking throw. It just doesn't happen. Part of it is experience. We're still not, what is he, 21 games into his career?
Yeah.
And he's only 7 games into this offense.
Right.
I'm looking at the big picture. The big picture says 4-3, 4-1 in the last 5 games. Is it perfect? No. Is it getting better? Yes. Has there been some rough sledding the last couple of weeks? Yes. He knows it. The coaching staff knows it. They're working on it. What Ben said yesterday was, Okay. Well, the coaches are doing their job. Now the leader's got to kick some ass in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And he's putting the onus on them. And in all honesty, I like that.
I like it too. There's
what's the word I want?
Self-management, self-discipline, self-accountability.
But it's also, when you get a pre-snap penalty, that's concentration, strictly concentration. Listen, you know what the snap count is? Frickin' listen.
Mm-hmm. Listen and see, right?
I don't think in all the years I played football, I don't think I had one pre-snap penalty. I can't remember one, put it that way.
Okay. Maybe you blocked that out of your mind.
No. If they said on two, then I'm going on two.
That's it. That's simple.
I look at like you're a defensive end. And a lot of times you got your head turned in a little bit so you can see the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see the snap of the ball. When do you move? When you see the ball, the snap go. Then you move. It's real simple. And some of it is just so elementary that why do you got to be told more than once?
Mm-hmm. That's the issue here, making the same mistake over and over again. I mean, I haven't looked, but I think that's Colson's second or third false start penalty this season. And that's got to stop. He's a rookie. I understand.
And Wright's had him too, but I think he had one last week. The other side, well, Benedict's had a couple all told. I don't think Thuney's had one all year. But that's why he's been an all-pro multiple times.
That's right. Well, I think he's got one. Thuney does. But nonetheless, This is a great question by C.J. Williams. It does appear that the Bears' top three quarterbacks that they've drafted, and that is Trubisky, Fields, and now Williams, that they're slow processors. That they were so interested in getting athletic quarterbacks, guys that can run, that they may have underestimated the fact that in this league, you need guys. Look at Brock Purdy. He doesn't have an ounce of Caleb's athletic talent, but the guy completes passes because he's a quick processor and he's accurate with the ball.
I don't necessarily agree that Caleb is a slow processor.
Okay.
He's playing an entirely different kind of scheme than what he was brought up in college. And he played the same scheme at two schools because he had the same head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, everything's a little different. And then on top of that, he had what he was being taught last year and the scheme he was playing in last year, got a totally different scheme this year, a far more complex scheme this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of learning going on.
Yeah.
And, to expect him to be, there's exceptions. Brock Purdy is very, very intelligent. Some are going to get it quicker than others, but I'm not one like Mitch Trubisky was slow processing.
Yeah.
That's not good. There's times you see Caleb, that ball's out of his hand so freaking fast. It's, understand what slow processing means.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. We asked people on X yesterday to ask you questions, and we got a few. Since we're on the topic of Caleb, Lennox is asking the same question. Hundreds, if not thousands, of Bears fans are asking. He writes, "It's hard to evaluate Caleb. The numbers look good on paper, and the talent and effort is there. But watching him versus watching May is a
I don't want to hear
experience.
Different offense, different team."
But his question is this: maybe Caleb's height is an issue with visibility. What do you think?
Height could be an issue. I'd have to go back and look at the college tape to see if he got balls knocked at the line of scrimmage. I don't recall offhand, but I've got one tape that's basically every throw he had in college, or every throw he had at USC. so 2 seasons. And, you have to go back and look at that. You're a 6'1 1/4", 6'1 1/2" quarterback. Yeah, that could be an issue. But was there any passes knocked down at the line of scrimmage yesterday? I don't think so. There was the week before.
Yes.
And that has been a problem during the season. And probably because he is shorter, the defensive coaches on the opposition are telling him, get your hands up in the air before he throws. I mean, that's just smart to do. So, yeah, but should it be a big issue? No, because he's very mobile. And, Brett Favre's pretty good, right?
Yes, he is.
Brett Favre is like a 1/4 inch taller than Caleb.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers too is about a.
Aaron Rodgers is an even 6'2", so he's a little bit taller. So what's funny is that Caleb's got shorter legs, long torso. Rodgers longer legs, so they have like a different build. So Rodgers looks taller. The Philadelphia quarterback, Hurts, is actually shorter than Caleb, but he looks 3 inches taller when you see him in uniform.
Yeah, indeed. The other big play that people are talking about, and was a topic in the pressers yesterday after the game, was the intentional grounding penalty. This is Caleb on that.
The intentional grounding just wasn't on the same page with Loveland. I was throwing him breaking out. It was a choice route, so this isn't anything about Loveland and anything like that. We just weren't on the same page. It's a choice route. He has a couple different options to break in, sit, or break out and things like that. And just wasn't on the same page, and that comes with reps and things like that. So I think that's what it comes down to. I could have gotten out of bounds. Also, if we want to talk about managing and things like that, that's a part of it. Is that I could have got out of bounds in that long run to save that second time out, and but that didn't happen. And so I think it just comes down to connecting. I think it comes down to being on the same page and just executing the plays that are called.
Any thoughts on that?
I got one answer for that, and the only guy who could really verify if it's correct or not correct is Ben. Is that, and Caleb said the right thing, we were not on the same page. But who made the mistake? Did the receivers got sight adjustments based on the coverage. Okay, and that's telling them which way to go with the route. So Caleb assumed, based on what he saw, that the receiver was going out. The receiver, based on what he saw, went in. And so that, when you see that, you're going to say, Caleb had an awful throw. But what if it wasn't Caleb and it was the receiver?
Right. And Greg, when I look at this, I think Caleb made the right decision. It was the rookie.
You look at the
leverage on the part of this. The leverage on the part of the cornerback
was inside leverage.
Exactly. That's why he should have gone. I'll freeze it right here. At this point, you got to go outside.
The cover guy, the slot corner's a yard inside.
Yes. And so,
and then I'm going to go. Right. I'm going to go this much further.
Right.
Again, I admit I'm throwing a dart at the wall here. Why isn't he playing more? Because of that.
Exactly, those mistakes. Yeah. So I got to ask you this question because I know people in the chat have been bringing it up, not just after yesterday, but Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, did we make a mistake? What do you think?
You could say yes right now based on stats.
Right.
But they're being used two different ways, really. And reality is it's too early to make that conclusion.
I agree.
Look, 2 years in, year and a half in, let's look at, what if all of a sudden Colson Loveland's a 65 reception tight end or 70 reception tight end, similar to the guy in Detroit. You're going to say that then? No, it's and on top of that, he's not getting the targets where the guy in Indy, he's the number one target. They're designing to get him the ball. And they're setting up their offense to get him the ball. Well, this offense, they're setting it up for 15, Romadunze to get the ball.
Yeah. So a couple of people have brought this up, so I'd love for you to address it.
And I love Tyler. Remember, we talked pre-draft.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that Colson might be a medical based because, the year before they take a guy and he wasn't, they take the tackle from Yale and he's not ready, Gaji, and he's not ready to play because of the injury. How long was Loveland going to be out for because of his surgery? And I made a call. Well, two things. I'll tell the whole story.
Okay.
I know the guy Ballard wanted. Ballard wanted Loveland. He got thrown to second choice. And it was funny because he wouldn't come right out and say it, but I'm talking to him and about the injury. What do your doctors say? And he goes, he'll be all right, but he won't be ready to go until camp. So then after that, and he was saying, but he can do this, and that, and just really praising him. And he didn't have that to say about Tyler Warren. So I'm reading between the lines. And this is 10 days before the draft. It's not like the day before or something. So I make a phone call to a orthopedic I know. And I said, this is the surgery. What's the... Now, I said, obviously, you don't see the guy, but what are the repercussions? How long is he going to be out? And he said, 6 months. And that's exactly what it was. And he goes, he should be fine then. So, and I thought, let me back up a little bit. One thing I learned watching this draft more than anything else about Ryan Poles. If he mentions a guy's name, he doesn't want him.
He tries to psych people out.
Ben Johnson Warren. Ben Johnson mentioned Warren. Poles mentioned Warren. They never brought up Loveland's name.
That is true. I don't recall them ever mentioning Loveland's name. So I got to ask you this question because a number of people in the chat are saying you are reluctant to criticize Ryan Poles. How do you respond to that?
If I think there's something worth criticizing, I'm going to criticize it. I think he's doing a good job. Look, I've been in this business a long time. So where I have been in that chair, I've been in the chair next to him. I know mistakes are made. If you think you're going to go up there and bat 1,000, you're kidding. It doesn't happen. So is the team better than it was a year ago? Has he made mistakes? Yeah. And the biggest mistake he made was the first trade he made. Chase Claypool. Wrong person and way overpaid.
Yeah.
Okay. First year, first trade. Okay. But he's got better. Most of the stuff this year in the offseason has turned out to be pretty positive stuff. So, and don't forget, it's not, people want to always put the onus on the GM. The GM is part of the process.
Sure.
He isn't the whole process. Okay. When you're talking free agents, the pro scouting department's involved and the coaches are involved.
Right.
If the coaches really want a guy, you're going to go out and try to get the guy. Because they're jumping on the table for the guy. But who gets criticized if he doesn't work out? Not the coaches. But the coaches are the guys are the ones that said, you got to get me this guy.
Who from this draft class has been a winning pick? Colston Loveland is not contributing where he should for the 10th overall pick. Luther Burden is not as a third or fourth wide receiver chosen. Ozzie is not. Shamar Turner is not. Now, some of these are hurt. Yeah, and some of these are injuries. But, yeah, we're looking all the way to the 7th rounder.
But you're going, and as a person in my position versus Joe Fan, I'm going to say the same thing. You're trying to grade a pick on a half a season versus grading a pick on his career. What's he turn out to be? Mm-hmm. That and to me, that's how you look at it. There's sometimes you take a guy up high and he's like, even you say to yourself, "Oh shit, did I screw up on that one?" And then you all of a sudden find out he's a pretty damn good player. Mm-hmm. You got to relax and give them the time that they need. Rookies are rookies, and they go through a learning period. Now, it's not standing up for Ryan Poles. I'm just telling you what the facts of life are. Some are going to jump out. Some, because of the team need, are going to jump out because they got themselves ready to play. Ballard hit a home run with his second choice with Tyler Warren. Now, he won't tell the media that that's his second choice, but that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move the discussion to the interception. And so let's see. I think I've got this on the interception. And
we already talked about this one before, right?
Did we? Were
interception where he threw it and got it.
You're absolutely right. My mind fits.
Okay,
all right, let's talk about.
You got new baby on the mind, bro.
I do. Let's talk about the Caleb brought it up himself. The incompletion to DJ Moore.
Right there at the end, it was just me and DJ not being on the same page. I think it was 0. I think I saw. I haven't gone back and watched it yet, but 0 was sitting. Obviously, he was sitting a little bit lower on the front part of the goal line, but I still saw space to the right of him. So I tried to get DJ to try to throw it there, and I think it's just a miscommunication in that situation.
That's one time I don't agree with Caleb. It was a shitty throw.
And the whole operation there, when they get down to the 5, they were wasting time. No
question. But he let them too far, like by 2-3 yards.
Yeah, indeed. And that's I think the most troublesome thing to me is going into the play. They're in a hurry. The whole sequence was off. It's not just a throw. It started with really the first play of the sequence. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, and then because you got the clock running, you got no timeouts. You want to get a score quick so you can try at least an onside kickoff. There's a 5% chance, if that you're going to recover, but at least you got a chance. But everything was off. And Ben said too, you can't go just on the last play because the quarterback sneak the play before was an awful play. Yes,
and then you had protection breakdown. You had blocking breakdown on the play before that. Yeah. So it was really the whole series was a cluster. I can't say the word. I'm not allowed to.
No. Good stuff. All right. So that was troubling. Now we got to talk about the field goal attempt to end the first half and Cairo Santos missing it by probably a yard or two. He just needed some more foot. But do you have any thoughts on that? Because I have one that I want to share, but please go first.
Yeah, the intentional grounding screwed him up on that. I mean, you're putting back There's a lot of things. You had the intentional grounding, and the intentional grounding is loss of down and a 10-second runoff, or you have the team use their timeout, which the Bears chose to do. That's what the rules are. And I know there was a question that came in, or at least I saw it on Twitter, where he said, "Well, how can there be you lose the distance, the down, and the time?" Well, because if he didn't have an intentional grounding, the clock still would have been running.
Right. This was from Bill Cross, right?
So that's why, and theoretically, he would have been sacked. The clock still would have been running. So that's why the loss of down. So the way the rules are written is they're assuming that there would have been a sack. The clock's running. Now you got to hurry up and get the next play in. But it just took everything away from what you were trying to accomplish in that series.
Yep, I agree. Now, here's my big thing is that, unfortunately, because they didn't have the timeout and because Caleb didn't go out of bounds, they didn't have time to clock it and get the K ball out there. He kicked without the K ball, which, as we know now, this thing adds another 3, 4, 5 yards to kicks. The K ball is, I got a picture of it here. There it is. The K ball has that K on it. It is right. There's 2 of them in each game for each kicker, and they can do whatever they want to the ball to help them. But they had, and I looked at the video on this, that ball was not changed, and I think that impacted the kick, him not having his K ball out there. Now, I also think that part of the blame for that goes to the coaching staff, because I tweeted real time, Caleb has to put the cape on, because I knew they weren't going to get close enough for a good field goal attempt. He needed to scramble around and throw a Hail Mary down there to at least get a Hail Mary type touchdown. They just did not have time to properly, get the field goal team out there. What do they call it? Hurricane drill and stuff?
Yeah, he was close. The big problem, back up about 4 plays. It was Caleb. He didn't run out of bounds. He could have run out of bounds.
Yeah,
I see that. Right. That itself was 20 seconds, 25 seconds.
Absolutely. But I just feel like, and maybe I'm being unfair to the coaching staff, but they should know we're not going to get the K ball out there on time. So let's not rush this. Let's call another play.
I'll argue one thing with you.
Okay.
There's the K ball. They can play with the kickers after the official gets it, but going into the game, those are brand new balls.
No. The K ball, as you saw in that picture, it is scuffed up because some kicker got his hands on it before a game and did what they wanted to do.
But before that, at least the way the rule was originally written, was you're not using that same K ball game after game after game after game.
No, every game there's a new K ball, or 2 new.
Right, but and I get with it, he can rub it and that type of stuff in the thing. But reality is, does it really make that much of a difference? And he might be able to take the ball and go like that with the point a little bit. I get that. But it's still a brand new NFL ball, it's not like the college football that's 5 years old, ready to go in the garbage can and pumped up with helium.
I think the reason why we have seen more longer field goals this year is because of the K ball. And I think
I don't agree with you. I think the kickers are getting real good. No, I really do.
That's a dramatic jump. This is the first year they've allowed this K ball, that there is this K ball with the new rules that they can do whatever just before the game starts. And so I think there's a direct correlation with this K ball and the fact that we are seeing longer.
Right. I just think the kickers are really getting good. Kickers are better in college than they've ever been. And there's these schools now that weren't even around 7, 8, 10 years ago.
Yeah, true.
In fact, it's actually a violation, but it goes on every single year.
Yeah.
A lot of these kickers are the special teams coaches are going to a camp where all these kickers are.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, the rule says you can work out a guy at 2 places, his hometown or his school. But they're seeing these guys kick at Joe Wonderland's kicking school, and they're having a competition, and the league hasn't put their foot down on it. But it's illegal.
Interesting. All right. So a lot of questions about Jake Moody or Cairo Santos. Where do you land on that?
I'm going with Cairo all the time.
How come?
He's proven he can do it. Yeah, I mean, his longest kick is like 56. What was that kick attempt? I don't remember what the actual length was, but I think his longest kick in his career, I think, is 56 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Why did Moody get cut from San Francisco after being drafted in the 3rd round? Very, very inconsistent. And while he has shown some consistency
here, yeah,
in the 2 weeks he was used here, on paper you could say he's got a stronger leg, but I think his career long might be, and going back to college, 57, 50. I have to go back and look at his college kicking records. So it's not like it's this huge difference. And when you look at, again, career records on reliability, percentage of kicks made, it's Cairo by a mile.
That is true. There's no doubt about it. But perhaps there are situations under some weather conditions where Moody's stronger leg might make it advantageous to activate him instead of Santos.
You only can bring him up 3 times. Otherwise, you got to. Now, he's probably been brought up twice. Otherwise, you got to put him on the roster. Mm-hmm. And they needed the other 2 guys they brought up. See, people keep bringing up the thing about Booker. And part of it is because all these other guys are hurt and they need other players at other positions.
Right.
Now, it's either today or tomorrow. If Booker isn't activated today or tomorrow, he's on IR the rest of the year because it's 21 days from the day you start practice.
While we're on the topic of special teams play, Laz says Hightower needs to step up. Illegal formation on that punt, terrible kickoff coverage, etc. Your assessment of the special teams?
I totally agree. There have been the kickoff coverage for the whole season. Last week it was pretty good, but for the whole year, been less than stellar.
Yeah,
and legal formation, it's on the player, but it's also on the coach to, they're standing at the line of scrimmage for a few seconds. You got time to get the guy to move a little bit.
Yeah.
And it not be a motion penalty.
Right. I think that Hightower is a candidate for replacement at the end of the season. Ben has been very complimentary about him, but if you look at Hightower's press conferences, his demeanor has changed this season because there's greater accountability going on in that coaching room. And I suspect, and this is just suspicion, that Ben has been critical of a lot of the stuff that's been happening on special teams. And Hightower's been saying, you're right. And he's been hearing criticism like he probably never has before. We'll see.
I don't disagree with you. Because in all honesty, although I've felt the same way, that he may be the weak point on the staff.
Yeah. Unfortunately. I hate to say it because I like the guy.
And you know what? Again, we could be throwing darts at a wall here. We don't know what goes on in there, but my thought process and the biggest letdown to me is kickoff coverage. The other team on a kickoff by kickoff basis, not week by week, they're giving up. They're getting the ball on the other side of 35-yard line.
Yep. I complained about Duvernay, and then they put Blackwell in, and he fumbles the ball. I was like, why did I open my mouth?
Yeah, well, Duvernay almost broke one too now.
Yeah, he did. He did. All right. I wanted your comment on this. Benjamin Solak, who is the nerd over at ESPN, who always has interesting stuff. If I don't always agree with it, but he's got interesting analytical stuff. He posted this, and I want your thought on this. This is on the Caleb interception. And on Twitter, he says, one of the dangers of Williams' velocity is that he'll make throws late over the middle because he's accustomed to his arm talent accounting for the difference. Awesome play by the Ravens Wiggins, staying tied to the route and undercutting with great timing. And that's, of course, the interception that was a backbreaker in the game. Do you agree with that philosophy that Caleb, with that great arm talent that he has, figures I got away with it at USC, and he's still making that adjustment in the NFL that he's got to get rid of the ball?
No, I mean, that's the play we talked about before.
Right.
No, he was late getting the ball out of his hand. That had nothing to do with the arm talent. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't, and personally, I think that guy's a bag of wind, and always have.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me why.
I think he is so full of shit.
Hey,
Of course, he thinks I am too. So that's,
I love it. I love it. Let us.
And then you got the pygmy and Fonny who thinks that it's time to put in the backup quarterback.
Jeez. Did he really say that?
Yeah.
Jacob and Fonte? Oh my gosh. You guys don't like each other, you and Jacob, huh?
No.
You weren't supposed to think about it that long.
I'm going to tell you why.
Tell us why. Close up.
Okay, we're both doing stuff at Windy State. And we asked Swifty to come on the show.
Okay, cool.
This is the very first time.
Mm-hmm. So
I tweeted out that we're going to have Swifty on the show as a guest. He sends me a DM. You might want to think about that. Nobody likes him. And he's always wrong. And I was like, WTF? I swear to God, who the hell are you? It's my show. I have on who I want.
Right.
And so then he kind of keep doing it. And I just said, F you, you're done. Bye. See ya.
So this is all over, but there's been other issues, I would imagine. Just,
No, that was it.
That was it. Okay.
I want, Will Fong from, asked me to, help him a little bit, meaning in Fondy, and he'd have some stuff and I'd send him a message. You're a little bit off on that. This is what people in the league look for, yada, yada, and none of it would be in public. It's all, and he seemed perceptive, but he's a young kid. He's like 23 years old, and he's got all the answers. He's this tall, and he's never played football in his whole life, but he knows everything. We all know people like that.
Oh yeah, I got some in my family. I got some in my family. All right, let us move on to some of the other questions that were posed on Twitter, or as you call it, X. And this
I don't call it that. I think the guy who owns it does.
Yeah, right. Brandon says, what is a fair amount of time before we see measurable and quantifiable growth from Caleb Williams? Our good buddy Brandon Lawson, and he is just his patience with Caleb is just about up, if not already up.
It's a fair question because there was growth in the early part of the season, and then the last couple of weeks, he's hit a wall. Maybe that's the best way to say it.
Yeah.
And, he's on a plateau. So now you got to see him start growing again.
Right.
And if he doesn't, then that's a valid question.
Yeah. And I'm of the opinion, Greg, is that any idea about benching him or anything, evaluation on Caleb is after this season. He's going to get all 17 games this season, and he should. Do you agree
Assuming
with
he
that?
stays healthy, but I'll tell you what, his durability has been rare.
Yes. I mean, look at Jaden Daniels, how many games he's missed, and
Yeah.
and probably will miss a lot more. Yeah, he's been really
Well,
tough.
he's built like a toothpick. That's why.
Yeah, I am concerned a little bit about, how he was smashed up late in the game. I thought I had a graphic.
He took a pretty good shot. But
Yes.
he bounced up.
Yes, he did. He did.
Caleb is a big guy. He's not tall,
Mhm.
but he is a big, strong guy.
Yes, he is. Very strong. All right, Fitz had this question. Why did they get away from DeAndre Swift for almost 2 quarters after the first 2 drives?
Just look at the time of possession in the second quarter.
Yeah, that's
Bears
a big
didn't have the
reason
ball.
why. Yes.
Baltimore goes down and scores. Bears get the ball, 3 and out, and then Baltimore has another long drive.
Mhm.
The time of possession flip-flop between the first quarter and the second quarter.
Yep.
Those are
Swift,
snap counts. Let me see that.
yes, Swift got 49% of the offensive snaps. Kyle Monangai got 46. That's in that second page there on the right.
Yeah. Well, who
so-
got the other ones?
So 49, 46 at the running back position. We saw DJ Moore, probably 3 snaps.
Oh,
there.
DJ, you're right. DJ got some snaps. And then how many? Ozzie had, boy, I would have thought Ozzie had more than 70, but it was mostly those first 2 drives that he was in a lot.
Exactly. Yes. Interesting. I got to say this. I think part of the decisions on DJ yesterday had to do with his groin. I don't think they wanted him to play more snaps than he played.
He did not look as fast.
Right.
That screen pass,
Mm-hmm.
which was a good throw by Caleb, the way he executed the play, but it was a great call on the part of Ben. But last week he takes that to the house.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about DJ. I was actually going to put this on X yesterday. I said, I'm tired of people calling me an idiot. But I do think that the Bears should probably be looking for some kind of running back help. Maybe some guy off the street. I'm just worried that DeAndre is not going to make it the entire season. And I went back and looked at the amount of time he's missed in his career. It's not that much. It's not. Going back to his last year with Philadelphia, he's only missed 2 games. So the guy is
His
more
first
durable
2 years he had missed time. And
exactly.
First 2 years with Detroit. And that may have been one of the reasons that they drafted the other guy.
Right. Jimmy Woods.
But since then, he's been pretty damn durable.
Mm-hmm.
But like at any position, and if you get your leg's a little sore and you're a running back, it makes a difference.
Yes,
because
indeed.
that one step, that explosiveness, if you don't have it, then all of a sudden you're average.
Indeed. Tom Bryce had this question. They are the only team with this problem, but why do they have problems in the red zone?
We already talked about that, and I wish I had the answer. I think, as I said earlier in the show, I think it's a combination of the play calling, the defense kind of zeroing in on what Ben likes to do, and some poor execution on the Bears' part.
Yes, indeed. I brought this up last Monday. Grant Brown is asking, Greg, do you think the Bears will make moves before the trade deadline? 2 cornerbacks are needed to help this defensive scheme work. I think this team is looking for a cornerback. I really do, with these injuries. And they just got worse, too.
Yeah. You're who knows how long Stevenson's out. The other guy's out 3 more games minimum. Who's available? And I don't want to hear, well, a rumor says so-and-so. Rumors don't mean shit.
Right.
Okay. So it's who's available and what's the cost?
Right.
And what's the guy's contract?
Right.
Is he a rental, or do we got him for another year?
Absolutely.
Or something like that. So all that comes into play. Now, if they think it's dire, the trade deadline's a week from tomorrow, but that's not stopping you from making a trade today or tomorrow.
Absolutely. But the thing is like who I posted 3 possibilities, and the one guy that you talked about was the short arm guy that went to Kentucky and the Titans have now. Apparently,
yeah,
you don't like him, huh?
No, he's a good player. I don't like short.
Sure.
I admit it. I'm a trait guy. Short guys give up. Short arm guys give up receptions that long arm guys aren't going to give up.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. So,
and then there's tackles that long arm guys aren't going to miss.
Yeah. So there are guys out there, but the price is not going to be good. I was thinking about Trey Flowers, who was with the Bears during camp, but he's on the Lions roster now.
Oh,
so
is he?
Yeah.
Is he on the active roster or on the practice squad?
He actually suited up for a game. I think it was a week ago, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, but he could have been elevated. Well, we can find this out real quick.
Exactly. He could have been elevated.
Can look this up.
And while he is looking that up, I am going to look at my little list of things. Gosh, man. Oh, man. This is a snap count for the defense. I think no surprises there. And it's a little hard to assess, what exactly is going on there.
Here's the thing, though. Let's say he's on the practice squad, and let me see if he is.
Scroll down there. They didn't release him, did he?
I think he's on the regular squad, I think. Let me just see.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. You said Detroit, right?
Detroit Lions, yes. You don't see
not on the 53.
Let me do a quick Google search because Google helps out. It's Trey, right? T-R-E.
Yeah, he's not on the practice squad.
Football cornerback. It says here, current team Detroit Lions.
Well, I'm just looking at the roster on ESPN, and I'm not seeing his name. And I've been known to be blind before, but
yeah, same here. Let me go to their website.
Okay, it's again Arnold, Maddox, Smollett, Robertson, Whiteside, and Yasin are the Detroit. Let me just, you got to go to DetroitLions.com.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So let's go alphabetically here. I see that he is scrolling. I don't see him on the 53.
Then he's either practice squad or on the street.
Yeah, they might have released him. Oh, there he is. He is on the practice squad.
Okay, well then you can take him. But now here's the thing with the you take a guy off the practice squad, you poach him off the practice squad, he's gotta stay active. Now you don't have to dress him on Sunday, but he's got to be on your 53 for 3 weeks.
So
which is 3 weeks that Gordon's out.
Right. Now Flowers didn't exactly super impress me in preseason when he got snaps, but
no, he's a vet, and
yes.
But he costs you nothing.
Right.
Okay, minimum salary benefit guy, but that's what the pro scouting department and polls is for. And the coaches, let's say you say Flowers, do the coaches really want him? They had him all summer. And after having them all summer, is that a guy they want?
Yep.
Put it this way: if they don't poach him, they don't want him.
Check this out, Greg. And thanks to Bears Back. 15 minutes ago, the Titans traded Roger McCreary to the Rams for a 5th-round draft pick.
And he was like a second, wasn't he?
Yes, he was a 2nd rounder. Yes, he was.
Okay. And who was that guy that used to come on here a lot?
Jordan Silvera, who had even shorter arms than Roger McCreary.
Yeah. He's going to be an all-star. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and he was a big Brian Daboll fan, and Daboll, I don't think, is going to be the coach of the Giants next season. This guy is nut.
After that game in Denver, I thought that was the final nail in the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they lose Scatterboo yesterday. We got to play them in a few weeks too, right?
Yes.
Oof.
And Dart came back down from the heavens because 2 or 3 weeks worth of tape. All of a sudden, the defenses are catching up with what makes him successful. The Dable is just not a good coach, and the guy who recommended him is not a good judge of talent in my book. But we move on. We're being critical to many people from the.
Well, I know as an offensive coordinator, he's excellent.
Uh-huh.
But
yes. But as a head coach, I mean, that whole situation when you went into the tent to check in, they're doing a concussion protocol on Dart.
Yeah, how much did he get fined? Did they say? I know they said he got fined, but so did Scatterboo.
That's right. That's right. Fine for Dable on Dart concussion. Let's see, it comes up $100,000 for Dable.
The Giants got fined, he got fined, and Scatterboo got fined. Now, Scatterboo probably got fined $25,000 because he's a rookie.
15,000.
15, yeah. So part of it is commensurate with how much money you make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to go on and cover some questions that have come from our live audience. Greg, even before the show started, had the question about Caleb, and we've already talked about it. But you don't think there's a possibility that Caleb
not
could
a
be
chance
lifted?
in hell,
unless
he gets hurt.
Yeah, there's too much invested.
I have never seen. We see how critical, transparent, honest Ben Johnson's could be.
Mm-hmm.
He has said Caleb made a poor read. Caleb made a bad throw.
Mm-hmm.
He's never criticized him. In fact, he's always jumped on the table for him.
Yep. Cornelius is saying the D-line is still a problem. There was no pass rush yesterday, and that's a problem for a depleted secondary. Hard to argue with that, right?
Yeah.
James Christo,
yesterday was a perfect case where they came close a lot and couldn't finish the pass rush. I think they had 2 sacks, and there's one that Huntley actually worked his way out of. I thought he was going down. They probably could have had 5.
Yeah, I agree. James Christo is wondering about Odunze. Why is he the number 1 target when DJ is a much more reliable pass catcher? You got any thoughts on that?
I can't answer that. That's Caleb's guy. But exactly. I'm going to say this. That one catch that DJ had at the end of the game, that's going to say, throw me the ball more.
Yeah, indeed. Because I will catch the bad throws, unlike Roma's doing. So there has been criticism.
Roma's had a few drops now. You can't.
Yeah. Do you think this was a drop? This one here, their sideline?
Yes, absolutely. That's a drop.
Yeah. And that was really
I mean, if he has his elbows together, he makes the catch. But that's a drop. You're a pro.
Yeah, 4th quarter, 5.5 minutes left. The 2nd and 5 at the Baltimore 30. Yeah, that can't happen, Rome. We love you. I love you. I love you. But
no, he could have ended up being out of bounds with that. But it doesn't look like it because his knees are already on the ground. Mm-hmm. But that is a catch you're supposed to make.
Yep, indeed. So thoughts from our people. Let's go on with that. Arnie, how about the terrible kickoff play in both directions? Yeah, we talked about that, Arnie. This from John. What are the 5 most important positions in football, Greg, and in what order? Where do the Bears players look at those? How do they look in those 5 important positions? So the quarterback is probably number 1, of course, right?
Yep.
Second,
value position has, you could say tackle, corner, and right now the Bears are down their top 4 corners. Smith got hurt, ACL in camp.
That's right.
Jalen's hurt. Stevenson's hurt. Gordon's hurt. Okay, who just to be able to be in a game, you're playing with the JV.
Yeah. So Are you saying cornerback then is your
Corner
second?
to me has always been a premium position.
Okay.
But for some reason, it's really defensive end, tackles, corner, quarterback. Those are your four premium position. Then probably defensive tackle.
Okay. Yeah, and even with this scheme that Dennis Allen, it seems like the weak side linebacker and three tech are very important.
Yeah, but the three in the nose can be he's interchanged them a little.
Yes, he has.
So, in Flusa's scheme, the three tech and the will are very important. I mean, going back to when we did that scheme with Lovey, but this scheme is a little bit different. So, I just although I just think there's too much overreaction. You had 4 wins. Okay, you had a loss. Did you think that they were going to win every game for the rest of the year? Wasn't going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, I felt all along this a 9-17. Okay, they may be able to sneak in and be like a final seed, but I see that next year, not this year. And so I'm not going to overreact. I get where fans are. I understand it, but that's not reality.
Yeah, where fans at are last year we were 4-2 and then went on and lost 10 in a row. So when we lost yesterday, a lot of us were getting like a mental illness. It's like PTSD. This again, oh no. I got to tell you, Greg, I'm not feeling good about Cincinnati because the defensive backfield is so maligned, not maligned, but injured, and Joe Flacco is just going to pick them apart. He is.
I'm sorry, I got to laugh at it.
Why?
Justin Fields had a career freaking day against that defense.
They were running the ball a lot on that defense.
But he threw for 260 yards.
Yeah. But
they ran for over 200. Don't you think the Bears might be able to run pretty good too?
I hope so, but the Ravens
that
are
is
giving
a poor football team. If they lose that game, then there's a lot of problems. That was a game the Jets, the worst team in football, went into Cincinnati, and Cincinnati was up by 17 points or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Jets came back and beat them.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that Cincinnati is,
and then just that fact alone, that'll eat those guys up.
Yeah,
we had it in a bag, and we, kind of like the Washington game last year. We had it in a bag, and we gave it up to the worst team in the league.
If the Bears defense yesterday against the Baltimore Ravens plays at the same level, meaning turnovers, takeaways, then the Bears would have won yesterday easily.
Well, hey,
even with the
great. Bynum had a dropped interception. That was in, I think, was it the fourth quarter?
Fourth, I believe, yes.
Right in the side. If he catches that, he might go all the way.
My point is, unless we get superior defense and takeaways, and with this defensive secondary, I don't think it's going to happen. Unless we get that, we're not going to win in Cincinnati. We're not going to win.
Well, okay, I'm going to have to guaranteed.
Oh, we got to
like I said with the Cowboys. These guys, I think they're tough. They're resilient. The coaching staff is tough and resilient, and you got a head coach that is a perfectionist. This isn't the same Chicago Bears.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. All right, let's see. We got any more questions here? I haven't been monitoring this very well, but from earlier, Kay is asking Greg, which Poles pick will be his first Pro Bowler? He has yet to draft a pick.
Yeah, I didn't have any my first 3 years either. At that point, a bunch of those guys became it. We had 12.
And some Hall of Famers.
We're waiting on a few more. We got one Hall of Famer, but there should be a few more coming.
Indeed.
No, I don't worry about that.
Good. All right. So I think I've looked through all the ones that we had. So if you got any new questions, please send them. I may have missed. And also, Bear in the UK says that let's not forget about Zay Frazier.
No, you can't say Za Frazier is a top 5 cornerback. He's never practiced a day.
Yeah,
he practiced in the spring, doing OTAs, and then whatever happened mentally happened. And so you cannot say he was you can't say in any sentence, you can't say he's top 5. He was what, a 5th round pick or 6th round pick, 5th round pick. So he was a prospect.
Yeah.
A prospect that the defensive back coach jumped on the table for. But that, for whatever reason, we don't know it, and we will never know. It's none of our business. Right. He's got a non-football illness is probably the best way to describe it, whatever the hell it is.
Correct.
And, if he's able to turn that around, he's supposedly here. He can't practice, but he can go to meetings.
Correct. Yes.
He can watch practice. He can learn.
Yeah. There were a couple of people on social media yesterday that were criticizing Poles for that, and it's hard. You can't criticize him for that. Based on what we know, you're just shooting darts if you're going to be critical of the Bears.
First of all, it happened after OTAs.
Yeah.
Whatever it was happened after OTAs.
That it was revealed or whatever. Yes, you're right.
But something happened to him. We don't know what it was.
Right. We don't know what it was. And so
now, if you knew what it was, that's a difference. When you want to throw shit at the wall and hope something sticks, you better be freaking right. Okay. Because you come up with just something, it's not the way it is. You don't like it, so what?
Exactly. Bromy Bear says it would be nice to have a positive identity other than the Bears having an identity as being a penalty-heavy team. Is it down to bad coaching?
How can you go from positive comments for 4 weeks in a row and everybody wanted to dig a freaking grave?
No, he's just asking about the penalties. Is it down to bad coaching or bad players? Same question has been asked.
I put penalties on players, not coaches.
Right.
Who commits the penalty?
I think it's the player. Sometimes the coaches getting the play in too late, stuff like that.
True. Okay. But most cases, 95% of the time, who has the penalty?
It's the player.
Okay. Whose fault is it? The player.
And sometimes the coaches aren't coaching well, but I think these coaches are. And as we said at the top of the show, Ben Johnson has now challenged the team leaders to correct these effing issues. So there we are, Rummy.
Sometimes your leaders got to take it on themselves. And now the word I was trying to come up with was police the locker room.
There you go. And Olin was a great cop, I'll tell you that.
And they have to take it on themselves. Some are reluctant. You can't be reluctant.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. You gotta, and I've been around good leaders. Phil Simms was a really good leader when I was in New York. But the best, and I'll say this until the day I die, there's never been a leader in football that I've been around that's better than Olin Kreutz.
Well, bookmark that one.
He takes that seriously, and you aren't about to mess with him.
Yeah, I would. I was writing this number down because I think I got a commercial there. Let's see. That endorsement of Olin right now, when people are talking Hall of Fame and so forth, I want to post that on social media and I hope that it goes viral because Olin should be in the Hall of Fame. And Brummy says, I agree with you, Greg.
Here's the thing, and nothing against Olin. So should Jay.
Jay Hilgenberg. Yes, I agree with that.
Jay Hilgenberg, and they're the same position. Now, Jay's moved up to the seniors category.
That might make it easier, you think?
I don't know how many seniors what do they have? 2 seniors get in every year or something
I think
like
it's
that?
2, yeah.
I looked at the list. When they had that list come out a few weeks ago, and I posted on X, I said, and Jay sent me a little note saying thank you. I said, hey, voters, do your job. This guy deserves to be in. He was the best center of that era.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, the Pro Bowls and all pro things, the Super Bowl, that tells that. But what's funny is when he goes up and gets that jacket, you're going to see a 170-pound guy.
I love it. So many offensive linemen.
When he was playing with the Bears, he's 285 or something, 290. But he's a slim and great golfer.
Brummy says, I agree, Greg, but when the coach says the player leaders need to sort this crap out, then I can't help but feel a little nervous about it improving. Well,
don't read into it too deep. What he was doing was he was challenging the captains.
Yeah. Which he should. Do you think that there's a danger in doing those things publicly? If you lose another game, all of a sudden this great locker room could turn on them.
I can't see that happening with this group. I really don't. See, just that statement is what, and I'm not criticizing you, but statements like that are like, see, it's like everybody's ready to. I said to a friend before the show, what are you going to do on the show? I said, I got to talk people off the ledge. And so,
of course.
And it's over. Yeah, they lost the game. I said last week they were going to lose this game. I thought they were going to lose it worse than they did.
Because you're seeing a process in developing, and we're not ready to win a game like Baltimore.
I looked at Baltimore, how good Baltimore is, coming off a bye. I don't care what their record is, playing at home. They're going to win. To me, it was very similar to Detroit week 2. Detroit lost the last game last year, opened up with a loss in Green Bay and stunk. Now you're going home and you're supposed to be a good team, and you've got some pretty good veterans on that team. Baltimore's loaded with Pro Bowl players now, loaded with them. And so, it just, to me, it was going to be their day. The Bears had to play a perfect game. They didn't.
It did not. That is for sure.
Okay. It doesn't surprise me that they, to me, they are right now where I thought they would be. And I'm happy with that. No, do you like losing the game? No, but I'm not going to. It's not like I felt after the Detroit game.
Yeah, exactly. Lutz with the nice donation. Thank you very much. He says he said it before. He'll say it again. To the Poles and Caleb doubters. Poles is going to be the NFL Executive of the Year within 2 years. Hopefully.
People, you lose a game and they go overboard.
Yeah.
Okay, next week they're going to win. The week after that they're going to win. Then I don't know who they play after that.
Well, let's see.
You got Cincinnati and the Giants the next 2, I think.
The thing is these November games are all winnable in my opinion, and we got to take advantage. The first November game is in Cincinnati. The next one at home against the Giants, and then against the Vikings.
Well, that one in Minnesota. Minnesota's not playing good, but it's in Minnesota. The next 2 games are winnable games.
Absolutely.
Pittsburgh is a winnable game. Pittsburgh is not a good football team right now.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Black Friday against Philly, I don't like it.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. I'll be shocked.
Okay, but they won 4, so I can see 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm still thinking 9.
Well, and I don't know. I was thinking 9, maybe 10, but now with these injuries, I'm really worried about the injuries.
Well, you know what? It's pro football.
But here's what
the next guy's got to step up and play.
here's what I'm concerned of most. I want to win all these NFC North games, particularly since we lost the first two. Week 11, Week 14, Week 16, Week 18. I hope we go 4-0 and finish the season 4-2 against the NFC North.
If they split against the Packers, I'm happy. You lose there and you win here.
Yeah, I'll take that. But man, I'd love to have a winning record in the division. That's where playoffs start, by dominating.
No, I get it. Let's see how healthy they are. Let's see if they get a player or two in the next week. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to see a panic move.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then go from there. Because don't forget, you get a guy who said he's going to be ready to play next week or whatever. It depends if he's been playing and he's playing a similar scheme and what you're asking him to do, that type of thing. So it's not, if it's a wide receiver, it's hard because you've got to learn the system, learn the side adjustments, so it takes a few weeks to step in and play. But if it's a defensive lineman, plug him in and play.
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier.
A lot easier. See ball, get ball. That's it. That's all you got to learn. All right. I think we've covered everything we want to cover. Any other issues or concerns that you have, Greg, before we pull the plug on this episode?
No, I'm not anywhere close to as down as a lot of the fan base is.
You're guaranteeing a win in Cincinnati. You guaranteed it.
Yeah, I know.
I like it.
So I can take a lot of shit next Monday if they don't get it.
Oh, you will. Trust me.
Bring it on, baby.
I love it.
I'm a big boy. I think I can handle it.
Yes, you can. That's my man, Greg Gabriel, and I am Aldo Gandia. We got a show tomorrow night. Unless I'm a granddad, I may not do a show tomorrow night. We'll figure out something, but we are scheduled for a show tomorrow night, the Buffon 55, the Halloween special. I will tell you this.
You will be a granddad. She wouldn't have labor. You will be a granddad tomorrow night.
Eventually, probably.
Unless it's the all-time longest,
Which in my family could happen. But I will tell you this: someone.
Your second child is always faster the second time than the first.
Oh, really? Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I told you the story about my daughter.
You want to share it again? Live?
Well, no. I mean, my first wife had a child before, and I was not home for the birth of my daughter, Ryan. And it's not because I didn't want to be. I tried to be. I'm in Lansing, Michigan, where Michigan State is. It's Monday morning. I get a call at 4 a.m, and we didn't have cell phones then, so it was the hotel. And said, my water broke. I said, okay, I'm on my way. So I got to drive down to the Detroit airport. It's an hour and 15-minute drive. I get there and, get a ticket for the first flight from Detroit to Buffalo. And at that time, it was Northwest Airlines, which is now part of Delta. And it was a hub. They had a bunch of flights going back and forth between Detroit and Buffalo. But the first one was a little after 7 a.m. So even with that, assuming that, the water broke at 4:15, something like that, that I get there at 8:30, 9 o'clock, because the hospital about 5 minutes from the airport. I got plenty of time. So that's what I'm thinking. Because I'm thinking that, first child she had like a 13-hour labor or something. No, she had like an hour and a half labor. That baby was born before I even got on the plane. So
that's wild. And then you want to finish that story? Was that the same child?
Well, my daughter loves the story, but
okay.
She knows it. But I said, well, I better call, see if everything's all right, make sure there's a problem. So I called the hospital. They put me through to the maternity ward, and I said, my wife's there, blah blah blah, ready to have a baby. I go, how's she doing? Congratulations, you're a father. I go, come on. When'd you have a baby? About 20 minutes ago. 25 minutes. I go, oh my God, what do we have? She got a cute little girl. Now I wanted a boy real bad. Oh, fuck. And then This nurse goes, "What?" I go, "I didn't say that. I didn't say it. I didn't mean it."
That's hilarious.
But my daughter knows the story. We talk about it all the time. She loves it. She goes, "That's why I was a good athlete, Dad." I go, "Okay."
And she's proven to be a good athlete, right?
She was an excellent athlete in high school.
Outstanding. Good for her. Good for the Greg Gabriel family. I will hopefully check in with everyone tomorrow. We'll have a show on somehow, some way. We'll have a show on tomorrow and on Wednesday and on Friday and blah, blah, blah. Best way to stay on top of stuff is subscribe to the channel. We will see you all very soon. Thanks a lot, Greg. Great job.
Thanks, people. See you next week.